Welcome back. So last night I talked about the Anaheim Ducks. Today I want to talk about the LA Kings. They're in similar spots, but from a cap perspective it's completely different. Just from a perspective too of how the team might approach this could very well be completely different as well. And for anybody wondering, I believe this is Cinnabon. We got two brown rabbits that are virtually identical, so I believe this one's Cinnabon just from personality. Anyways, we're not keeping all of them either. So, the LA Kings, deadline cap space, $8,643,334 according to Cap Friendly. So they do not have the cap space that the Anaheim Ducks have. And a lot of that has to do with the veteran players who eat up a lot of cap. And so they're a team that's 24-16-7. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. So they're playing well enough that they could very well end up being a playoff team in the West. So you need to have three teams from the Pacific in the playoffs. Right now, that would be Calgary. That would be Vegas, pretty much for sure. And then that third spot's kind of up for grabs. You have LA, you have Anaheim. They're tied in points, but when you look at points percentage, Anaheim's at 561, LA's at 585. LA's played two less games. But then you've got Edmonton is in that conversation as well, right? Edmonton's not that far out. So the LA Kings are still, we're about a month out from the deadline. They're in a position where if they play well between now and the deadline, maybe you end up renting, right? So they're 13-10-2 at home. They're 11-6-5 away from home. So consistent record at home and away, that's important. For teams that are going to make the playoffs, that's really important. And as I said, they're tied with the Ducks. In terms of draft picks, they have their own draft picks all the way through minus the third round where they have, I believe it's Pittsburgh's third round pick, but they have a draft pick in every single round. I don't think they need more picks either. The argument could be made that, if they were to win the draft lottery and get Shane Wright, they wouldn't be upset, but they don't really need more top prospects. They have a bunch of them right now. The last time this team made the playoffs, 2018. It is such a similar story to the Anaheim Ducks. That's why I'm talking about the Kings right after the Ducks, because the storyline is that similar. So if we look at their unrestricted free agents upcoming, Dustin Brown, 37 years of age, 44 games, 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points. If they're in a position where they're looking like they're going to make the playoffs and they want to make a run with it, Dustin Brown's not going anywhere. And Brown will have say in where he goes and what happens, right? But if they fall out between now and the deadline, and again, the unpredictability in the West is kind of fun to look at. And so we'll see whether or not Brown's still there at the deadline. Because, again, at age 37, how many more years is he going to play? Probably a couple. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays for a couple more. He would likely want to stay with the Kings to get that done. Maybe they sit down and work out an extension before the deadline. Andreas Athanasiou's only played 15 games this year, 4 goals, 4 assists, 27 years of age. I would think if they want to talk extension with him, he'll probably listen. If they were to say, you know what, we'll make Athanasiou available at the deadline, they would get some phone calls regarding Athanasiou. Same with Olli Maatta. Olli Maatta, 27 years of age as well, 32 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. I think they've shown that they have some pretty good depth on the blue line now. And it hurts that Walker's out for the year, right? But I wouldn't be all that surprised if Maatta ends up being available. And then the question becomes, who takes Maatta and what do you get back? But I would not be entirely surprised if he became available. What we may see with the Kings, and this is where it's different than the Ducks, I could see them moving a contract out so they could bring another player in as a potential rental. Because you are looking to maybe augment your core, seeing that you could possibly take that one last run at it, right? We never really know when a team's going to make that one last run. A good example of that is the New Jersey Devils when they went to the Stanley Cup final the last time, which I felt like was a last hurrah to try to get a cup for Brodeur again, and they came up just short. And the Kings, to me, feel like a team that might be ready to go on a bit of a run. They might be a team you do not want to play in the first round, and they could also miss the playoffs. So it is wildly unpredictable. Edler, 35 years of age, 26 games, 1 goal, 10 assists for him. I'm so glad he hit 100 goals. I do have concern about how many more games he's going to play from here. Being an unrestricted free agent this summer, If he were healthy at the deadline, does that mean they're more likely to make a different move? Does the play of the Kings without him mean that they're likely to look at maybe moving him, his contract? We shall see. The Kings are in pretty good shape, and when you look at the restricted free agent list, it is a who's who of Andersons. So you've got Kempe, who, if you're going to have a really good year, you might as well have it when your contract's up. 44 games, 19 goals, 9 assists, 28 points. So 19 goals in 44 games tells you he's due for a raise. Brendan Lemieux, 35 games, 7 goals, 1 assist, 8 points. Probably going to be a very reasonable cost for him next year. Lizotte, 41 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. He's more important than I think people may realize who don't watch the Kings. Lizotte's a good player. Grundstrom, 29 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points. Durzi's been fantastic so far. 29 games, 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. I think with Durzi, I think they should sit down and work out probably a 3 or 4 year extension with him. And so that's probably going to be a little bit higher in terms of cap hit than you might want right now, looking at it as maybe being a bargain 2-3 years down the road. Then you've got Mikey Anderson, 44 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Very useful defenseman. Not going to end up with a huge raise. But again, he's one that, do you give him a bridge deal, maybe end up paying later? Or do you give him a longer-term deal, maybe a little bit higher cap hit to get that done? Then you've got Elias Anderson, 13 games, just the 1 assist. Anderson, there are a couple on this list. I would not be entirely surprised if they don't get qualified. They don't get the qualifying offers and they become unrestricted free agents. To me, Elias Anderson is one of those players. Kachev might be the other. Kachev comes over, just plays the 4 games, 2 assists. Believe those were in his first game. And he's been in the minors since then. So for Kachev, they clearly decided to go in a different direction with the lineup, and so I would not be surprised to see him not qualified and end up going back overseas after this year's done. Gabe Vilardi is a really curious case. 7 games, just the 1 goal in LA, and he's played most of the year in Ontario. For Vilardi, I wouldn't be all that surprised if they don't qualify him either. It's been a really rough time for Vilardi to get to the NHL, and now it's become a rough time for him to stay in the NHL. And it's weird because a couple years ago, on his initial call-up, he looked really good. And there were points last year where he looked pretty good. But it feels like he's regressed this year, and maybe the future for him is in LA. Maybe he benefits from a move. I think of like Robbie Fabry, who goes from St. Louis, where he's going through injury problems and not getting in the lineup enough, goes to Detroit, and it just works. So it's possible Vilardi has that kind of upside. And I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit were to look at Vilardi if he became available. You can't have too many young forwards, right? Vilardi can play the wing, he can play center. So the fact that he's young and that he can play various roles might be one of those ones that Yzerman looks at and says, I can do something with him. And then you've got Jared Anderson-Dolan, just the 2 games played for him this year. And much like a couple of the others on the list, it doesn't feel like he's had the season he would have wanted either. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because they're in a playoff spot without these players playing a major role. So you might be able to move on from one of these players at the deadline if you decide, hey, we want to get another veteran up front. We'll offer up Vilardi and see what's out there. Just as an example, right? And so this is your restricted free agents. And then you got all the future pieces that have yet to really bloom and become what we think they could be, including Byfield, who in 7 games just has the 1 goal. But he's been very impressive. And so the points don't always tell the story. I think Byfield's a good example of that. Then you have Turcotte. 8 games for him. I think it was pretty obvious that he still needs more time in the AHL. The upside is there, though. So we shall see with Turcotte where he's at. I would think next October they'll give him a really good opportunity to make the lineup and see where he fits. Bjornfot is only 20 years of age. He's played 47 games this season, 6 assists. Plays like a veteran. He's not going to end up being a really expensive defenseman, I don't think. But there's some upside there. Tyler Madden, who's 22 years of age, and I put his age up there. I didn't worry about the others because he's a bit older than the others. He's in the AHL this year, 37 games, 12 goals, 14 assists, 26 points. Of course, they got him from the Canucks. And Madden could very well end up being an NHLer as soon as next year. And again, with Madden, it's where is he going to play? His size has been the question mark as to whether or not he's going to be talented enough for the top six, and if he's going to be too small to end up being a bottom six player in the National Hockey League. So he's not the first player to have that question asked about him. Won't be the last. Kupari, 37 games, 3 goals, 6 assists. I've liked what I've seen from him in general. And again, with young players, I don't worry as much about the points and the goals. It's how are they playing. Kaliev's another example. I think Kaliev's electric. 46 games, 8 goals, 6 assists, 14 points. Again, probably not the sexy point and goal totals you're looking for, but he's been pretty good. And again, it's remarkable that LA's doing as well as they are without needing Byfield, without needing Turcotte, without needing a lot of these guys to provide the big numbers, right? And then you've still got Brant Clark coming up, who in the OHL this year, 37 games, 8 goals, 38 assists, 46 points. Being the number 8 pick from 2021, he will get an opportunity to make the lineup as soon as he's signed on. Helge Grans in the AHL, 33 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. I like Helge Grans, and I think that there's some really solid young players still coming up. So this is why I'm saying they don't really need to go out and get draft picks at the deadline. They don't really need to go out and get more young players. They might still be looking for young players, but they're not in that kind of really, really needing young players like a Vancouver. Vancouver really needs more of that young, top-notch talent coming in than I think they have. And for the Kings, they have it in spades right now. So their upcoming schedule will decide a lot of things about whether this core of Kopitar, who's 34, Doughty, who's 32, and Quick, the Jonathan Quick jersey, who's 36, whether or not this core gets that chance to go on another run. They play tomorrow at home against Edmonton. So the Oilers are in San Jose today. They're in LA tomorrow. Then on Friday, they're at Vegas. So those are 2 games that are not easy. No easy wins there. Then on Saturday, they're at Arizona. And then because of the weird schedule, the following Wednesday, they're at Arizona again. So if they get 4 points out of those 2 games, that helps quite a bit. Then they're at Anaheim. So it's a 4-game road trip. 2 of them are in Arizona. 1 of them is in Anaheim. They can help themselves there. Then they're at home against the New York Islanders. And they're at home against the Boston Bruins a couple days after that. So it's not a brutal schedule. It's a pretty easy schedule, and that's the rest of February. So, you've got Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then the Monday game before the end of February. Then in March, the rest of the next 10 games are at Dallas on the 2nd, at Columbus on the 4th, and at Buffalo on the 6th. Dallas, that's a tough one, but Columbus and Buffalo, those are winnable games. So LA's schedule, not bad, and remember the deadline is March 21st, so the 10-game mark there would be March 6th. If they have a good record over their next 10 games, put themselves in an excellent position to make the playoffs, they could be a player at the deadline. And I don't think they go for like a big name. I don't think they go out and get a big rental. I don't think they're in on Giroux, but who knows, right? You have Kopitar, who's having a very good year. Jonathan Quick's been excellent at points this year. And Doughty, honestly, probably playing the best hockey he has in a few years. You might want to strike while the iron's hot. So we'll see if they do. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you're a Kings fan, do you think they go for it? Do you think they just hold it at the deadline? And what happens? So are they close, or are they in a very similar spot as the Anaheim Ducks? To me, it feels like they're not that far off, and they might be dangerous come playoff time. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.